everyone, welcome to a new video series called The Mad Licks of Josh Smith. Now, many of you may not have heard of this guy. I suggest going searching him on YouTube or on Instagram. I came across this guy by looking for some Joe Bonamassa live videos. I came across this Blues Cruise video. Josh was playing on it, and I was hooked from the very start. The first time I heard him, his repertoire of licks and styles is kind of just ongoing, and every time I hear him, there's always something new to kind of hear and learn. And that's why I'm making this series, because I think I can learn a lot by making these videos and learning these licks, and I think so can you. So it'll be good for us all around. Now, this particular lick that we're going to get into in the first video has a bit of a jazzy feel. It uses some Dorian, blues scales, and chromatic notes, a bit of everything, some hammer-ons and that sort of thing. It's not the type of thing I normally learn to play, and this is kind of the cool thing, you know, these little patterns that we come across. I love learning them, and we're going to get into it now, so stick around. Okay, so after looking at this piece, we know that it's in this shuffle beat, that sort of thing. But the actual lick he's playing over the top of that we're looking at is played with a 16th note straight beat sort of thing going on. And it starts on the 2, so it'll be a 1 and 2, okay, 1 and 2, 3, that sort of thing. And we'll actually look at the notes on their own slowly first, so anyone who just wants to pick up the lick that way with a little bit of tab. In the actual video recording, he was going something like this. So we're hitting a low note as well, the low E. But if you were to play this over you're playing it with a band or something, you might not want to use that low E. It's just because he was playing it as a kind of guitar instrumental solo piece. But that's what he was actually doing, hitting that low E as well. Okay, so let's try to look at exactly what's going on within this lick. So we know we're in the key of A blues, right? So we have the we know that particular scale. We're also going to be mixing in this note, okay, which is a major 6. You'll find that gives a Dorian feel. Okay, and also we have this, the major 2nd. And at some point in the lick we go from the minor to the major 3rd. Okay, you hear that a lot in blues anyway. Hear it all the time, pretty much. But these are things that we mix together anyway when we're playing blues over these dominant 7th chords. So on top of that, we also have this little note here. We go down to the minor 6th here. So that's the most chromatic sounding part, in my opinion, because we have that minor 6th. But it's kind of outlined from the major 6th. Okay, we just passed through it from the major 6th to here to the 5th. Okay, so the first 4 notes, let's look at them. Okay, if we take away the 2nd note, we have this basically, which basically outlines this diminished and then tritone sound for the top and bottom note here. So I think starting on the blues note in itself is interesting, and then having that slight outline of the diminished sound is something that gives this phrase an outside feel from the very get-go. And the next phrase we have, again, we start those next 4 notes, start it on the major 6th, we're hammering on here to the minor 7th, and then hammering on here from the major 2nd to the 4th here. Okay. Then we go, so we slide from the major 2nd here to the minor 3rd, then hammer onto the major 3rd. And that gives a nice kind of chromatic feel as well. So interesting. And then we go straight from there to this note. Again, it's like the notes that we end one of the four, like if we think of it in sequences of 4, the notes that we end on and then start the next sequence on are kind of interesting notes, because it goes to the major 3rd here and then it starts on the major 6th. So then we go straight to this note, then it's, okay, so we're passing down here from the major 6th to the minor 6th, okay, then back up, okay. So I pick twice there, pull off, play the 7th on the G, and then I hammer back on here, 5, 6, 7, okay. So I'd practice that, and all these are hammer-ons, as I've said. So I'd practice these in little sections, little portions. And then we go here, okay, which is the root here and then the major 2nd. So this is a sequence of, or this is the groupings of 4 notes that I would think about. We have this, 4 notes there, then we have, okay, then it's, and then, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then, which is the 8th fret here of the high E, so the 5th fret, I go down, up, and then down on the 5th fret of the B, slide down, and then we go, okay, hammering on from the minor 3rd to the major 3rd, or 5th fret to 6th fret on the G, and then 5th fret on the B. Then we slide into this chord, okay, which is basically just a, yeah, it's just a dominant 7th here, but an E, okay, but just the top 4 notes. So I slide in twice, and then we go, so we pass through here this E flat, so we have, keeping the same shape, and that is basically it. And now basically this part here is outlining in the blues progression where we go, you know how it goes like that in the blues, you hear that a lot. Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting way of playing it instead of just going. So that basically concludes this lick. I'm trying to explain a few things, why things sound kind of chromatic. Of course, we have this part and that sort of thing, and at the start there's lots of elements that make it sound more outside than it really is. But then when you mix together certain scales and you start sequences on notes that you don't normally start them on, that in itself can create that outside feel. So that's something to learn from these things. Learn what people are doing to get the outside sound without actually doing too much, you know, with purely outside scales or anything like that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. I'll see you soon.